Martial Art Collective Society and also the Seiko Shoreikai International. Martial Art Collective Society is an organization of organizations. It's an organization that I actually formed about 4 years ago with members of several other organizations who represent Okinawan Karate, Chinese Kung Fu, and several others. The SKSK is dedicated to the teachings and the preservation of the teachings of the late James Mitose. What we're dealing with in this particular tape series is the last textbook that I had written, which is called Koshuru no Kinza. Another term for it is magic. The martial arts today, I believe, are not really being practiced with its original intent. And that means that the martial arts, when they were first brought out, appeared magical to a would-be assailant or an opponent. And that is because, number one, you had the element of surprise. Number two, you had the trick. You had the ability to outmaneuver and outposition an opponent, to have the element of surprise on your side. Today, everybody in the martial arts has seen the martial arts through the media, through movies, and various different things. The Koshuru no Kenza, that text, and these tapes are an attempt to get back to the trickery and the ability to be the trickster in the martial arts. And how this takes place is very, very simple. It's called study and practice. The principles and concepts we'll deal in this tape deal with one, energy, and the other one, wild energy. Now watch. Understanding of an opponent's ability to generate power, motion, and to learn to restrict that power, motion, and movement, or we can refer to it as energy. A good example of this is those of you that might have been introduced to many of the restorative arts is based on energy pertaining to the human anatomy or body. When you have a blockage, for instance, in the muscular structure, you will have cramping. Then what you have is stagnation of blood flow. Then you have aches and pains and so on and so forth. But energy, in the deliverance of a strike or a hit is, and where that energy starts and how it progresses, depends upon what muscle groups, what part of the anatomy is free in order to throw a strike or a hit. Understand this, drawing of energy or increasing an opponent's energy in the wrong place in their attempt to deliver a strike or a hit can create an imbalanced state. Also, the stoppage or the creating of a blockage in a different opponent's energy, motion, and movement is also very important. The concept of wild energy is, I think in the restorative arts we could think in terms of dealing with 5 element. And those of you that are not familiar with that, which we'll touch a little bit later in this tape, or one of the other tapes, something that is out of control, which you've done is you've taken away its direction. That is wild energy. So the idea is, how do you create all of these different states in the body and the body's motion? So what we're going to do is we're going to think in terms of what allows freedom in movement, and then what part of the anatomy an opponent can generate their energy from. So we're going to start by basically exploration of a technique or a hit or a strike. And again, much like the previous tapes, is dealing with almost the same thing, but not really. We're going to deal with posture and position. If my hand is here, or my posture is here, my opponent wishes to hit slow. Stay right there. Energy that he is able to draw from comes from the lower part because of my hands are in this posture. Again, your triangulation points come to here. Draw your hands together. From this posture to this posture, your opponent has to fit in his movement. If I draw my hands in together, I draw a straight line, his motion is going to come from the hara tendion, but actually from the lumbar region of the back. His weight will have a tendency to cock back more, and his movement will come directed there. So what I've done, just by having the hands here, I've directed his energy to come from here. What I want you to do, Sensei, you start throwing your strike and tell me exactly where you feel power being generated from. Is it here? Right here. Now, the understanding of this deals with positioning stuff differently. If I position the body this way, start rotation, where's your body feel like it's going? Where's your energy coming from? Here. Again, you direct two lines and you come to center. This is it. These are your energy points where your opponent's going to generate power or positioning or hitting. Now that comes from me changing his environment. If I come here, my opponent's going to hit. Where are you coming from?
Down, up.
Down and up. My posture from third eye to Tendya Hata. What I'm doing is bringing this here. Keep extending. Where's your strike going to? Right to where my hands are. This tells me not only but through the posture and positioning of my environment, but this also tells me where my opponent's probably going to generate a strike or a hit. So if I stretch here to this posture, my opponent goes to hit or strike, I lean slightly into that center, I should come right into the hand in a position to be able to create a throw or a hit. Now, there's dangers in this too. If he's back and I stretch back here as well, and I come to here, but I've changed my posture to here, what kind of a technique do you want to throw right now?
Kick.
Okay, right here, right?
Yes.
Now all I've done is, in order to generate the energy for that kick, what I did is I changed my posture to here, and if you look at where my hands are, start throwing a kick slowly. They're right there. Now, if I change posture or position to this pose, what is happening now is energy comes from, what kind of a technique do you want to throw?
Kick off the right or left.
It's going to come to here. Okay? Stay there. Stagnant energy is generation of energy. Again, stay right there, don't move. Power, posture, position as he starts to throw the kick slowly. It's going to come right to here. So if I want to attack this energy point, start throwing your kick. What's happening to you?
Off balance. I hit, can't rotate.
And how much power am I using to do that?
Very little.
Okay, go back. Throw the kick quickly. What's happening?
Can't rotate that hip around.
Now, it's a matter of understanding this. How do you learn this? Very simple. You work your movement slowly based upon changing where your target is and find out where the blockage points are within the body and how that body generates that power energy. Okay? Now, basic posturing and positioning again. Where do you want to hit?
I'm coming this way.
So what I'm doing is I'm changing postures and positions so the opponent can generate his energy. Stay right there. Now look at where I'm going. Start doing your move. Again, triangulation alignment. Back. Where his power point is, if I come one as he moves, look at where the alignment is, I cut slightly. So what is generating the power with that right hand? Off that left hip. What does that do to you? I created a blockage. Energy-wise, what has happened, that blockage, what happens is there is more of an increase in blood flow to that area, and his energy is going to be more compressed to this direction. He's going to want to free himself. Now, once he's here, back again, as he goes to move, he's free. Now what I want to do is I want to come back. So as he goes to hit again, this takes place. My opponent's either thrown or I can direct my strike into that angle. Energy is created through posturing and position. Another example of this is if you're in any certain type of environment, you gather energy from that environment. Good example of this is there's a practice, and I'll probably pronounce this wrong, Feng Shui, which is a Chinese practice of how to position objects in a home to create energy flow. Is it the objects or is it the individual's natural body posture and positioning to the objects around them which allows them to feel more unrestricted? You create the same exact situation with an opponent. Learn to craft energy. Learn to redirect it. Learn to posture it and position it. Also, learn to create a frantic state within an opponent's anatomy to try to break loose and find new energy. These are all things that you can do or to readjust an opponent's movement, abilities to move, or reposture themselves in position. Posturing and positioning, different environments. If I'm doing this, how do you want to strike?
Project here.
Okay, why?
Lower base.
Why?
Close.
Why? What have I done?
Lock me here.
Why?
Because your hands are what I perceive.
So basically what I've done is I've taken my hands and basically positioned them here, which what this does, it creates an environment where the opponent's elbows are actually going to sink in. It's going to create his movement in more. If I do this, what happens?
Side lean opens it up more. I feel more freedom of movement.
If I do this, are you more likely to kick?
Oh,
Here?
no.
Or here?
Open up. Yeah, there's more of a kick there.
What's this going to do?
This is going to cause me a punch.
Now what's this make you feel like?
Punch it down still. But yeah,
What have I done to your lower base?
I feel locked up. I feel very locked up.
All right. Now, a posture like this, for instance, this time what I want you to do is you just feel free to hit. Okay? Go ahead.
Please.
Now, what I've done is what? Great, this environment. You want to hit me here.
I feel open. I
Feel open, right?
close. Yeah.
Okay, strike. What happened? What do you feel? Strike it. Strike it. What do you feel?
I feel more freedom of movement because you're open, but you're not there when I'm striking. This guy's my elbows to go in.
Strike. What do you feel?
Please.
And strike again. Strike.
Please.
What do you feel?
Energies contract.
Press.
Yes.
Okay. It's the hand posturing and positioning which changes his ability to move or react. Also, you got to remember this too. In the observation of Kumite, an opponent's visual plane, or where they perceive you are, changes their body structure to hit, increases energy to cover more area in a room. What is wild energy? Wild energy is different. Now watch. Wild energy is a state that you put your opponent in when he's scattered. There's no direction of focus. Wild energy is also a state that, well, for instance, from a health standpoint, you could call it a nervous condition, so to speak, where there is no focus, there is no balance. So how do you create states of wild energy? Again, by creating confusion. You may do this in several different ways. Perception and angles, for instance. When someone is using perception and angle, always attack from the opposite perception or angle that your opponent perceives, which is real. If my opponent is striking and say I do accomplish a block, he hits and bam. Okay, I've given a balance to that touch point. Okay, so there's no real dealing with wild energy here. However, if I can manipulate my lower base, that means I can go all over the body, which will create a wild energy state in your opponent. I think another way of dealing with, or way that you could refer to wild energy would be like creating a state of creating chills. Someone has chills. It's a nervous strike. This. Right away, the touch is here, he goes to move again. Posturing and position. What I'm doing is changing to several different places. The idea is to create a panic mode of the opponent. Now, right now, again, he's created a base right away through touch. He goes to move. What is happening there is the opponent, what did you feel, Sensei?
Weightlessness.
That's right. That's right. What do you feel?
chaos.
Strike quicker. Strike quicker. What is happening is there's an expectation that my opponent has based upon where I'm putting my hands or my feet. And what I'm doing is creating something totally different. He goes to move again. What did you feel?
Again, wait a minute.
Strike. 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 Are you trying to hit me?
Most
What are you feeling?
seeking your center, and you're not there.
Wild energy again, he would expect this punch. He would feel that. He'd expect it. His body would be able to acclimate to this much better than if I did this. Punch. Punch. What I'm doing is creating a state in the opponent where he's not sure where things are going. Wild energy is creating a state of confusion. What is really confusing is if your opponent is moving, he's striking, and you're not. He moves, he moves, he moves, hit hard, moves. But what I'm doing is creating a confusion in my opponent's mind on where he is, where I'm at. Going back to the energy principles again. Strike, so. My opponent's hitting, and I block. This is also dealing with what I call weighting. If I take my hand and rotate it to here, what I've done, stay right there, I've recreated a different, what I call weighting state, meaning weight, as in weight. Putting the thumb here, put more base and more weight here. Bringing the hand or the pinky out this way, I put more weight here. So what's happening, this is free. Thumb, this is not free. Small finger, this is free. Or in other words, the weightedness takes place here. Thumb, now to the back. Posture, now back and up. Lower posture, down and forward. These things you want to learn to do. This is also the creation of energy in different areas of the anatomy and causing the opponent to move or strike or reposture themselves in different ways. If he is striking, now his generation of energy right now comes from here, and I should know this just through my touch. So if I want to change it as he punches, I do this. What did you feel, Sensei?
Locked up on the left.
He punches again, where you locked now? Right. He punches again, where you going now? Up. Okay, he punches again. Now he's going down. What I'm doing is this. I'm creating a different state. Visualize this. Visualize a massage session. You have a blockage here up the upper left shoulder. All of a sudden what is taking place, the blockage is moved where this is totally free, and now you're to the lower right part of the lumbar region. All of a sudden the blockage now is moved. Now you have a Charlie horse and the top of the thigh muscle. Now all of a sudden the calf is cramped. This takes place within 2 or 3 seconds. You're creating these things. Changing of the muscular structure of movement and motion, confusion of the subconscious mind, and creating a state of wild energy, meaning there is no direction. If you have pain someplace, what happens, the body will naturally try to reposition and reposture itself to compensate for that. And usually what will take place, as time goes on, the pain will move to the part of the body that's trying to compensate for the injury. However, if this is all taking place all at once, now you're affecting the nervous system, the internal organs. So the idea in the manipulation of energy and wild energy is to create a state of wild energy as the body is trying to reposition itself to adjust to the blockage, so to speak. So my opponent's striking, I'm doing this, right away energy is postured back. My hand is here on the elbow. It goes to move. I do this. What's happened now?
Locked up.
Now, can he break free of this? Sure he can. Break free. What I've done is I've dealt with the part of the anatomy that has to free itself in order to free itself from the elbow locking. Striking against this. Now I'm striking and hitting. Understand where rotations are taking place. I reposition the chin to move here. Frees up the back part of the anatomy, move in a circular fashion here. He moves. Right comes back. When you're dealing with movement and motion, understand, again, creation of wild energy. This time I'm going to ask you to explain what things that you feel. Slow, strike. Where's your posture at? Where's your weight?
Right.
Where's it now?
Left.
Where's it now?
Back.
Where's it now?
Down and forward.
Where's it now?
Left leg and up.
Back part of your body, where is it? Where's the rotation going to take place?
Right hip back.
Upper quadrant or lower?
Upper.
Okay. What about now?
Lower.
And your rotation, your weight is going to sink to where next?
Seeking down.
Down, and which way is it going to go?
To the right.
Okay. Now where's it going?
Forward.
Now where's it going? Now where's it going?
Up. Pointing up.
Now where's it going?
To the right.
This is also a way that I can pick my target. When my opponent, again, so much back, strike. He's here, I have my block, and I reposition myself here. Where's your weight?
Forward.
Left. He's going, and now as he goes to move, stay right there. This is a quadrant of motion here. My opponent's center will come here, so if I take my body and I fold it backwards and he goes to hit again, this is my counter. My counter, all I have to do is realign my body to where I was last. My opponent will run into the movement. Why? Why will this affect it? Number one, back again. When I was here, my left shoulder or my left elbow was in this posture. As he goes to hit, that means his right foot will go where my left elbow was. If you draw a line, start moving. This is a posture where energy is going to be thrown. This is the direction of the hit in which I'll strike. Therefore, the energy is going to come from here to this. Keep extending. Where do you feel your weight?
Right leg. Forward.
Okay, so what I'm doing is I'm allowing this to take place, allowing the energy to take place, and I'm creating a blockage for the attaining, for the hit. Now, in order to create a different type of environment, if the opponent starts to move now, what do you feel now?
Rising up. Weight on the back.
How much strength am I using?
Nothing.
What I'm doing is, because the weight was here, that means his energy is going to be projected from here, and that's where his base is going to go. The target is here. So as he goes to strike or hit, take slight motion, and my opponent is going to go. And what you need to do, what we'll do now is we'll discuss how you can figure out some of these principles and concepts through observation. Now watch. Okay, how can you figure out how to project energy and wild energy? Again, observation points. Again, kata. Watch how a student performs this form of kata when the area is cramped or when it is not so cramped. Or again, the placement of objects. Watch then what muscle groups free themselves more. Muscle memory, the subconscious mind. When I use the term subconscious mind, if you had to think through every step that you took in a journey, you wouldn't be able to walk. Your muscular structure adapts naturally. When you walk around an object, is it the object that you're readjusting yourself to? Is it the ground that you're walking on? Or is it the perception and the peripheral that you're taking in from the outside of the object that you're manipulating around? Learn to study those things. Change one thing in that view. In other words, either change your direction when it's tunnel vision, change the periphery, change maybe even taking off a shoe if you're walking around an object, and see how the muscle groups readjust. Create the same states to an opponent. Then identify all of this with muscular structure and how the body readjusts itself and how energy is projected from the anatomy based on those things. Any place along the lines that you create a cramping effect for that movement, or you take a change, you created a blockage. Now remember this, creating a blockage though can also allow more energy into another part of the body, or the anatomy. In healing arts, based upon five-element theory. Five-element theory is dealing with how to create imbalance someplace else to create balance elsewhere, to create balance of the whole. In other words, if someone has a condition which affects a certain part of the body, they might create imbalance someplace else to create balance for the whole body. Your anatomy and physical movement adjusts itself naturally to its environment. Play with that environment. Play the art of trickery. Any type of body position, an example, if my opponent is going to say, for instance, again, Morgan, I'm going to ask you what kind of a technique you want to throw right now. How would you want to hit me, sense?
Either a kick or a right punch.
What kick?
Roundhouse.
To where?
To the head.
Okay. Now, let's watch as he starts to deliver the kick. I'm not going to move, but watch how his body repositions itself slow. Weight shifts up. Now, the energy first was drawn, go back again, to the left hip. Energy went up to the left hip. He rotated in. His body, his foot came in. Now, from here, then he generates, stay right there, energy here. And it comes from the allowing of the leg to rise, the hip will rotate backwards. So what has happened, this became the platform. This is the pivotal point. These muscle groups had to free themselves in order to throw the kick. Any slight motion that I take away to this to create imbalance here can mess this point up and create imbalance. In other words, block his energy. Now right now the target is here. Throw the kick slowly, I'm going to let you hit me. Right here. He starts to throw the movement again. Go ahead. My Hyoshi is proper. This much motion, what has happened?
Walk down.
I just walk again. If I take this and I just touch slightly to here, what does that do to you?
Just my way back.
Now what we do in martial arts, throw a high roundhouse kick quickly. What we do is this. Now what am I doing in striking? I'm feeding the energy and also striking. Not just feeding the energy, but I'm allowing more weight to be planted here to deliver what? Back fist and punch. Man moves. That's what I'm doing. Now that can be good. You can generate that energy. If I want to counter it, then what I do is I counter where the energy is going to go next. So I might bait him, he moves, and then I move to here. What does that do to you?
Lock, yeah. Right leg.
He goes to generate movement again, so I reposition myself back to where I was. Kumite, you give a target. Here, man moves, generate, move slightly. Move. Here, here's the head of your strike or your counter. Understand that what you're doing is each time you manipulate the body, you respond to block naturally to help the opponent strike. Stop and think whether or not that's what you're doing in a lot of the blocking sequences that you might do in the blocking of a punch or a strike. Energy is created also by the subconscious. The subconscious mind already computes where you're going. Now, for instance, if I'm here, where are you going to hit with now? Do you feel like it?
Front kick
Okay.
or back fist.
Now, subconsciously, he's doing this, but subconsciously, what he expects from the front kick, what would you expect me to do if you throw in a front kick?
Reverse punch.
Well, I got to do it with the front kick first. So how am I going to block? With what hand?
Front hand.
Am I going to block downward in a downward motion?
Yes.
How do you know that? So what would you expect to hit me with next?
Back fist or reverse punch.
Right. See, so now see, subconsciously he already knows that. All he's done, so as he kicks, that's body throws a strike, it is already subconsciously computed what your opponent is going to do. Usually every time. Why? Because that's how our bodies move. The idea is to create a different state. Change up on it. Back here. What do you want to hit with?
Reverse punch.
Okay, now, he goes to move. What did you feel?
Leverage from the arm.
Now watch. What does he see in the picture? He wants to deal with a reverse punch, but what does he see? He sees this. If I change and give him my backside, but not my backside because it's dangerous, but in this way, as he strikes, cut this angle. What did you run into?
Elbow.
Did you expect to see an elbow?
No.
Why? Back. Energy is here. He's expecting to punch this. He doesn't see the back part of the elbow. He moves. What does that do to the rest of your body?
Lower base locked up. Pressure on the left.
So what I've done is I've given him something he never expected. He will naturally rotate to get out of that. Now all I have to do is conceal the elbow. He goes to move. What does that do?
Locks my left leg. Weight on the left.
So if I was in a kumite posture, he goes to move. There's your reverse. Hit. What's happening is subconsciously his body has to readjust, has to reposition itself. Wild energy, remember, is having to all of a sudden be put in a state that you're not expecting. Example, you're going to drive to San Francisco. You do your 200 miles, all of a sudden you see the sign and it says Los Angeles. You're confused. That's wild energy. I hope you enjoyed the tape on energy and wild energy. Pay attention to movement, motion. Take your time. Don't look at the tape and expect to just see techniques. Thank you.